I'm going to show you a stage by stage how I'm going to do my double quirk in my ensuite. So these are the tools of choice to be able to do the work today. We've got the Festool KS60, and then we've got the DeWalt table, so I don't know the code for that one, but we'll see what it is. DE7400. So I already know that one of the arc trays that I'm going to be using will need to be ripped down because we have got a slightly narrower section on the left hand side to the right, and I also know the fact that we're going to have to build out a casing to be 10mm thick, so I shall show you that detail as well. Into the ensuite. So we've got this arc tray detail here. So standard semi-standard casing, so it's a pocket door, so the door goes into the wall, compared to a normal casing there. So that's obviously a normal door casing, although I have added like a buffer strip so it takes the bang away. We've got obviously a tulip wood casing, primed and painted in a Farrow & Ball colour, and then we've got obviously the arc tray. So that's a standard detail, although it's a very nice detail. It's a standard detail on that one. We've got a pocket door here and a pocket door here. So on this pocket door, it's just plasterboard both sides, arc tray detail normal. On this one, we've got multiple layers of boarding to be able to tile onto. So what I've done there is put the standard casing in, what came with the actual pocket door itself, and then we've done the arc tray on this side, so it keeps that completely in line. So looking cool. And then on the inside, which I'll show you now, we've got this detail where the casing is set back to a tile edge. So I've already measured that, and that's 9mm. So I'm going to do that in a 10mm hardwood lipping, and then build out that casing, and then do the arc tray detail around that to enclose that side off. So the left side is slightly narrower than the right side. What the right side will be is 69mm, which is a standard arc tray width, and then the left side I will measure and cut down on the table saw itself. So I shall show you on the next stage of my margins of how I'm going to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that section first, and then I'm going to do another set of measurements because I can kind of work out that it's going to be hard to follow. So yeah, I'll do it in 2 stages. I'm going to do that section, which is the hardwood lipping, the 10mm thick one, and then I'll come back up and do the arc tray. So I just need to check the fact that that hardwood lipping is going to sit tight to that tile. So I'll check in multiple positions there. Now we've got a 10mm quirk on, or sorry, 8mm quirk, that it's going to fit in multiple points. So that's 20mm, that's 20mm, that's 20mm, so we're okay there. 20mm will be okay there, 20mm will be fine, 20mm, 18mm there, so we've got to be careful there. So if we do it all in 18mm, that way we're only setting the table saw at once. So we'll do an 18mm wide by 10mm thick, and then I'll come back up and show you on the next one. So I'm going to do a mixture of videos from a DJI and from my phone, because I'm going to keep the DJI set up in the ensuite, and then my phone will be down here. So we've obviously got the chop saw, vac, table saw. So these are the hardwood sections here. Obviously it's 10mm thick by, I've already cut these down in the workshop previous, so I've semi-cheated a little bit, but we are 20mm, so I need to take a couple of mil off just one side because 20mm will work on the other, and then obviously we've got the arc tray, which is 69mm, so I've got to do that in the next stage as well, so I'll keep you posted. Yeah, back on guys, so we've got the 3 pieces cut now, so we've got 10mm thick by 20mm wide on the right side and the head, and then on the left side I've done that at 17mm just to give it a mil play. Some key bits to use are PVA, a nail gun. So this is an 18 gauge pin gun, which basically means that an 18 gauge is slightly smaller head, so it's ideal for when using only thin material like a 10mm, or also it's less filling as well, so we use it a lot in skirting boards as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the back of these and then pin this on as well, and then I shall show you a bit more detail of that one. One thing to remember as well guys is you're going to see 2 out of the 4 faces here, so you're going to see one edge on one face. So I always find it easy to sand that first, and then you can obviously get a good painted finish, or even if it was hardwood you get a good oil or varnish as well. It's a lot easier to do it in your hand rather than trying to do it on there. So yeah, it's a nice little tip. So we'll PVA these now. So nice little bead. One thing to remember as well is the PVA or whatever kind of glue you're going to be using is going to be the stronger fixing out of a nail or glue. The PVA is the strongest out of it all, so, or the glue shall I say, is the stronger part. So it's very important to glue rather than just expecting the pin to be able to do everything. The pin will obviously hold it, but the better longevity would be the glue. So we'll pin that on now. So going to our 8mm margin, a little bit of a rub up and down to make sure that the glue's spread nicely. So I'm just going to leave it just so I can see my pencil line there. So there, 1, 2, 3. So onto the gluing the other ones now. So we've got obviously a face we're going to be seeing and an edge. So PVA that one. One thing guys is as well, don't be scared about putting the glue on because it'll always wipe off. So I always try and do the glue cleaning whilst it's wet 'cause it's a lot easier, but worst case scenario you can always scrape it off afterwards. So now we should be a couple of mil short, so put that one on there. So yeah, slight gap at the top, look. So push that up to the top. Nice. So put in there. One. So we're trying to find our lines now. So I'm just going to pull it back a little bit to see where we're at. So we've got a line up here, a line there. So just a bit on the grout there. So I just need to clean that grout off a little bit with a knife. If you're going to use a knife, be careful. So run the back of that. So you can just see the pencil line there. So you go on there. One thing to remember as well is the pins. You've got to make sure that you're using a length of pin appropriate for whatever you're going to be nailing in. So for instance, if I use a 50mm pin in this, it'd be too much, it could come out the face. So I'm using a 30mm because we've got 10mm thickness of the beading, and then obviously that section's around 35mm. So got plenty there. And then onto that one. So remember that the glue is going to be doing more than the pin. So it's okay to fire away with a pin gun, obviously being careful, but you've got to remember the fact that the more pins you put in, the more you've got to fill. So only put the amount of pins that you think is necessary. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do one in between and one in between because we obviously still need a good fixing and we need it to be sat nicely. So another pin there, another pin there. Oh, that's nice now. PVA will do its thing, so I'm just going to get a wipe to clean that glue whilst it's wet. Got one in my pocket. So, all nice there. So like I say, it's a lot easier to wipe it off whilst it's wet, in my opinion. So I'll get that back now, so I can just see my pencil line there. So yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, I've basically set the pins to my pencil lines, then I've gone in between the pencil lines. It's just a nice kind of habit I've got into over the years. So we've got the head on the right side, and we're just slightly proud of that tile, which is absolutely perfect. So we're about 1/2 mil to 1 mil proud of that tile, so when the architrave's gone on, it will have no interference, so it'll get it nice and flat. So I'm just going to do the next one now. So again, we've got one finished face and one finished edge. So that tells me that the back face, the rougher side, which I'm not sanding, is the one where the glue wants to go. So a nice thin bead, making sure we've got good coverage again. Don't worry if you go a bit messy, we're okay, we can clean it up. And then we've got that nicely. So a good method to go to is the pin gun, it's there, it's that width there, that's the shape of the head. So if you notice, I'll be holding the gun, the nail gun, with the grain of the wood, which basically means the head of the pin will run in line with the grain, and that way when you're filling, it's a lot easier to fill. It's a lot more natural to fill rather than going across the grain where the head. It's not too bad with this gun because it's only an 18 gauge, but if you're using a 16 gauge, which is a standard nail gun, it's a lot bigger head, so it's got a lot more filling to do. So I'm going to go back down to each pencil line now. So we've got one there. So obviously being careful, making sure my hands are out of the way. Nice there, pencil line, pencil line. So one thing to take note is, because this section's so narrow, it will tend to waver, so it won't be completely perfectly straight. That's why it's good to have plenty of pencil marks on that architrave leg or the casing leg to be able to put that bead in or the architrave up to. So we'll work down there. Working nicely on each stage so you know where you're going to, and it's going to be nice and straight. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're just going to put one in between there. So we're nice there now. Again, just proud, a millimetre proud of that tile, which is absolutely perfect. So we're just going to turn the battery off just for safety, so just in case. And then now, with our combination square, we can mark another 8mm. So you've got 8mm on my face there, and you're going to do 8mm again. And in that way, sorry, we're back. So we're going to do 8mm on the casing like we've shown you, and then I'm going to do another 8mm there, and then that's called the double quirk. And then that point then we can take our measurement for the architrave that will go around and picture frame the door casing. So I'm going to wipe off that wet glue. Again, don't worry too much about it, we can always clean it off afterwards, but it's a lot easier to do once it's wet. Cleaning off that, get off a little bit of the face of the tile, it's okay. So we're nice there, so I'm just going to check that I can see my pencil mark so we can nice in line, that means it's nice and straight, ready for our architrave to go on. So the next stage would be combination square back out, see if I've got it in my pocket, and then we can mark our 8mm out again, around the beading, obviously set from before. Fine pencil again, making sure it's sharp, but this one's a push down one, so you're okay. And then 8mm, 8mm, multiple points on. The architrave is straight, because I've looked it down it already, but we'll put multiple points on just so we're practicing what we preach. So in this case, I've just noticed that one of the pins hasn't gone completely flush, so we'll have to pin punch that in, but that's no problem. It's good to show you guys what we're doing. It happens, it depends how hard of a wood your pin gun is firing into. Sometimes it'll go in, sometimes it won't. If, for instance, if you're hitting a knot, the pin is obviously only so strong and the pin gun's only so strong, so it might come out sometimes, it's no problem. Again, worst case scenario is that you pin punch it in and does it go completely in perfectly, we just have to fill it, so it's not a problem. And that one's above the pencil line anyway, so it'll be behind the architrave, which is good. So that's our 8mm margins all the way. I've done the tiling in here, so I knew for a fact that I'd set it to a certain point that the architrave would cover, hence why there's a gap there. So we know the fact that the right side's going to be fine, the head's going to be fine, the left side is one we're going to have to cut down. So again, we've checked this earlier, this is going to be completely parallel and level because we fit it, so it's all good. So that section there is now 45mm, I'll double check it anyway, but 45mm wide, which means we need to go back to a table saw, cut that leg to be 45mm, and we're happy there. So if a table saw and my chop saw was closer, I'd cut the legs already, I'd pre-cut the legs, and then I'd mark them up here, but because the table saw and my chop saw is far away, relatively far, I'm going to take the measurements this time. So the floor measurement to the horizontal line is going to be the start of the 45-degree cut, so that's 1957. So if we cut it at 1955, again leaving 2mm on the floor, that allows for a silicone bead and stopping water, so I'll write it back of the tape. And then the head, what's to be, pencil to pencil, 765. So that's an accurate measurement, so we're going to keep that one. Now I know it's going to be the same, but I'll double check anyway, it's always good to double measure. So we're going to cut that 1955. Double check so we've got that wrote down nicely. So the next thing to do is rip that leg down. The head's going to be standard width and the right leg is going to be standard width. And now we've got our measurements to the start points of the 45-degree miters. We can cut that down where the chop saw is. and then bring it back up here, make it up, and glue that on. So we're going to obviously have really narrow sections of pinning, so we're going to be able to pin the head fine, we're going to be able to pin the right side fine, but the left side we'll struggle to get a pin in there or a fixing, so that's going to be reliant on like an OB1 CT1 grab adhesive, so that'll go against the tile itself. So we are back downstairs now. This is the architrave, so we're going for a hardwood architrave in the bathroom or in the ensuite up there, because it's in obviously an environment where there's high moisture. So although we are going to be painting it, it's just got a better standing chance of keeping nice rather than MDF. What will tend to disfigure, shall we say, over time with moisture. So I'll show you what we're going to be doing in stages of this one. So starting off, setting my chop saw at 45 degrees. I'll only set that once. I won't keep changing it back and forth, and that's just because I like to be super accurate and making sure there's no tolerance between that 45 degrees and that 45 degrees. So I'll show you what I'll do. Obviously we're going to have a face cut we're going to have a 45 degree that way and a 45 degree that way. So I'm going to start with that one first, and instead what I'm going to do is flip it upside down, keeping that edge flat against that point, and that's flat edge flat against the bed of a saw. Do a 45 degrees on there, and then I've got my first point then to take a measurement from that way to that way. So I'll show you on the next one. 45 degree cut. So the next point is I'm going to take a measurement from there to wherever it may land, and then I've got obviously the chop saws already sat there, not changed it, already that one. So I've just flipped it back over. So measurement from there to wherever it lands, and then cut that one. That's the head cut. So taking my tape measure from there to there, a little mark on there you could just see still, and then cut that nicely on the 45. So that's now the head of the architrave cut, so I can move on to the legs which are there. One thing I do like to do is to check that that's actually square, and that's definitely not square. You could just see from a picture it's miles out, so I'll re-square that, and then obviously I could take a measurement. These are plenty long enough, so I'll get rid of these cuts as well, so it just saves sanding as well. So that's looking cool. So one good thing, there's multiple good things about this saw, but one of the advantages is it's got multiple stops. So you've got a stop here which goes from 400 to you can just see the measurements, about 1600 there, and then this next one which goes from 1600 to, that pulls out, if I can do it, can't do it, yeah, so it goes to, well, keep going, 2512-ish, thereabouts. So I've cut these back now square. We've obviously set the chop saw back at 45 degrees, and we're going to keep that one obviously set there. So you're going to cut one on the back side, so face down, and one on the face. So we're going to set the first measurement to the beginning of a 45 degree cut, and then that's already then set, so we're not having to measure twice, and we'll do that one and that one, all from it being set at once. So taking a measurement from that corner there, working along, it's 1955 to the start of a 45 degree cut. That's nice then, and then all I've done then is set this backstop there to finish, so that's all nice. So I know the fact that that's going to cut that perfect, and then all I've got to do then is put the next leg of architrave on to that stop that I've already done and cut again, so no more measurements. So this is just to show you what a double quirk would look like in a different scenario. So this is obviously standard door casing where the latch and the lock used to be. On the one side you've got obviously the casing itself and an architrave which is there, and then on the other side we've got a section here and then the architrave. So whereas where we're doing in the ensuite we're doing 10mm, this one's around 25mm. So it just all goes to show, depending obviously what you are building out to on a wall, that's a wide casing, but the casing wouldn't be able to get any wider because it's only so wide. I think it's a 145, which is the widest casing you can get. And that reason is if you were to use a wider casing, it's more likely for the timber to cup and twist. So it's worth taking into account, obviously, in this situation where we've got a double quirk. That's what it looks like when it's done. So it's just it's just another nice detail, but it gets rid of that problem of being able to having a casing that looks rubbish against an old wall, I suppose, like this. So I'm just going to show you in a bit more depth of detail. This is the left side that needs to be cut down in width, so it's 69mm at the minute. We need to cut that down to 45mm. So I'll show you once it's cut down to 45 how we get rid of a problem. Obviously we're going to get there. So the problem we've got now is the fact that that's now 45 degrees, sorry, The problem we've got now is the fact that that's now 45mm wide, and that's 69. So this is what you end up getting with a section that's obviously, trying to do it one-handed, sorry, a section that's overlapping. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark out that piece where it stops, and then cut that square. So coming back, that's the point where it stops, where it meets. So we're going to cut that off square. So that's what we end up with. So that section there is 45 degrees, or 45, well, it's 45 degrees, but 45mm in width, that piece, and then coming up to a square. So a little zoom in of this section here. We've got, now let's find our little pencil there. So we've got a pencil just on the edge there, which is nice. And that gets us past, or flush in some cases, but just a millimetre past this tile here, which is what we're looking for to then be able to do the architrave around to close that casing off nicely. So this is my standard setup. Obviously a dusty boy because it's ultimate protection. This is the left side is obviously the one that's going to go against the shower screen, the head which is standard width, the right leg which is standard width. We've got some mitre bond adhesive there, some silicone adhesive there. Majority of silicons will adhere to majority of things, but I haven't actually got any really nice stuff that I'd like to use, an OB1 or a CT1, so this will do. And then we've got a piece of cardboard underneath so the glue doesn't run onto the dusty boy. And then obviously we just line them up so it's nice, and then glue them together, bond the back, and then stick it onto the tile. So yeah, I shall show you on the next one. So these are now glued. You could sand them if you needed to, but they're nigh on perfect as they are. The next stage will be to lift them obviously very carefully, stand them up, and then apply the adhesive to the back, and then fix on to the casing, or in this case a double quirk. Looking really good, really nice. So remembering guys that the adhesive on the back is going to be doing more than the actual fixing, the mechanical fixing, which in this case is the pin. So yeah, the glue is going to be doing a lot more than the nail itself. So we're going to be gluing it on there, obviously on the head and on the right side, and then pinning it where we can. I mean, basically that pin will hold the architrave in place until the glue's gone off, and then you've got the best of both worlds. Two good fixings there. Remember to put the battery back in. So I'm going to try and fix this just in that first quirk. So just that little point there at the top. That way it's easy to fill. So again, both sides, and in the middle. And then working down that the right leg in this case, is getting a fix in there. Or it breaks like that. So sometimes it's inevitable. You've got that side that's nigh on perfect, and that side that's broke. So there's two things you can do. Obviously fill it, which we're not going to do, or take it back off. I've not pinned that side yet, so I'm going to take it back off, take it down to a chop saw, trim it ever so slightly, and then glue it in situ. So you've seen the best of both worlds. When it works with pre-mitering it and pre-gluing it, it's perfect. When it doesn't, you've got to know how to get it back right. So that's experiencing grey hair. So yeah, it is what it is, and we'll make that perfect, don't you worry. So we're back, obviously picking up from the last video. We've done that one, that's fine, but this one's broke. So it's a perfect really video to show everybody the fact that sometimes it doesn't work. It wasn't staged, it was just how it was. So what we've got is we've obviously got the silicone that's left on the tile, grabbed really well to be fair, so that's fine. I've cut this, recut this mitre ever so slightly again, which is something to nothing, so it's basically 1 mil. My expertise or my experience has said it's 1 mil to nothing. So I just need to clean the old glue off this one with a sharp chisel, and then we've got obviously mitre bond on the left side that's worked, and then on the right side we're going to be putting PVA. So I'll just clean this off now. Nice and sharp. Wipe whilst it's wet off the chisel, and then obviously putting that out of the way so we don't kick it and stub our toe. I'll take a toenail off because it's that sharp. So I'm not going to offer it up because I have faith with my knowledge, so I'm going to PVA it straight away. So when you're working with mitre bond, it dries very, very hard, very fast, and when that happens, you don't really want it to come out onto the face of the architrave because it can be a pain to clean off because it's obviously hard straight away. With PVA, doesn't matter, get it on. PVA is better than mitre bond in my expertise or my experience, but it's mitre bond's a lot quicker. So we're going to put that up, shake it onto a tile so the adhesive spread nice. I'm going to offer that up now, and then offer that perfectly up. Again, let the glue come out, that's fine. It's a lot easier to clean PVA when it's wet. So you can just see, or if you can tell from the video, it just drops a little bit, which is good because we want it to be off the floor. And then we're going to offer that up now. I know that is perfect, so I'm going to go back to my 8mm margin, working down. Always start from the top, it's a lot easier, and then go a pin in between. Getting a good fix in there. And then we've got two things. We can either wedge the top and allow the glue to go off, or we could put a pin in it. Now I'm going to struggle to get the pin gun in, so I'm going to put a little wedge off the top, let the PVA go off, and then once the PVA has gone off, it's going to be perfect. So just going to put a bit more PVA in there, push that right in there, making sure it's pressured in, pressed in as best you can. There's a bit of PVA on the floor somehow, so wipe that up because I don't want to be standing that on our lovely new carpet. So let that, press it in with your finger. Obviously your finger's going to be dirty now, but you're fine. You can wipe that off in a second. So there's a couple of things. You can either cut the timber wedge, or there are some packers that are pre-formed wedges. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bit of cardboard because that's what I've got to hand. I don't want to go down and make another trip outside. So get the Stanley knife with the wipe, get it pressed into them little curvatures, and then we're all nice. You obviously don't want that to dry hard and then have to clean it afterwards because it's going to be a nightmare. So get a little bit of cardboard now. And it's just a case of folding it a certain amount of times and then making it form itself a little wedge. So let's see if that's okay. We need more. Fold it on itself. I'm forming a V now, so that's it. Obviously that's going to be the wedge itself. And I could just press that down as much as I want to be able to get that perfect. So clean it off. Let's have a look at that. A little bit more. Okay, so it's perfect. With it being obviously card, there's a lot of tolerance in being able to adjust it, so that is absolutely perfect. Beautiful, beautiful all the way. So let that go off now, and then that'll set to be unbelievably hard. So looking at that, that is how I do the double quirk, and I'll show you in a minute a close-up detail of that, and then the next stage is obviously to fill and paint. So I think that looks really well. It's something I've been meaning to do, and it just finishes off this room nice. So yeah, see you on the next one. So this is a close-up view, guys, of a double quirk which finishes off this casing. So going in closer, we've obviously got the casing itself, the sliding pocket door casing. So we've got this standard architrave detail on the outside, and then, as I was saying before, we've got obviously the problem with the tile that's coming past that casing. So how I've done that is coming back, we've got the thickness that we need, which in this case is 10mm, it might be less, it might be more, and then we've formed that quirk there. So that's an 8mm quirk straight away, and then another 8mm quirk, which is then formed that detail. So obviously we've got the PVA at the top that's going to hold that mitre really nice. We've got the bit of cardboard which we're going to take out when it's dry. And then yeah, we've got that nice detail there. So hope you like that one. That's a nice one to get rid of a problem that's obviously this side of the wall is too wide for the casing we've got. So yeah, hope you like it. If you do, give us a like, and we shall see you on the next one. So guys, this is just a video to show you what we've used to do the double quirk architrave in my ensuite. We've got obviously the PVA there, we've got the chisel, silicone gun and some form of silicone adhesive. Majority of silicons will work as an adhesive, so don't worry about too much in application. Combination square, vacuum is obviously a good addition. The Dusty Boys floor protection is a must. We've got the chisel, I don't know if I've said it already. 18 gauge pin gun with relevant pins to be able to not damage or come through the thickness of the material you're pinning or fixing to. We've got the cardboard, which is we've used it twice actually. We've used it one as a wedge and one to protect the Dusty Boy from the glue. We've got the mitre bond, fine pencil, Stanley knife and a good tape measure, and of course not forgetting the wipes, which are just there.